Hello, my friends of Hatari Labs. Welcome to this webinar on the introduction to Docker for Hydroinformatics. I hope that you are having a great evening. What is the purpose of this webinar? The purpose of this webinar is that independent that if you are working on Mac, Windows, or Linux, sometimes the setup that you require for a particular software or like a particular package, as we will see in this webinar, is really predefined. I mean, and might be incompatible with what you have on or the configuration of your computer. Okay, independent of which computer or in which operating system you are working in. Okay, that's why we use Docker. Okay, some time ago, Docker on Windows Vista was really unstable. We had a lot of problems. However, here in Docker in Windows 10 is kind of a better product. However, Docker is not perfect, and as I have heard from a colleague, she has to reinstall the operating system because after running Docker there was some issues. Okay, it has not happened to me, and we don't know if this is related to Docker. Okay, but let's see. Okay, so for this tutorial you need to have Docker on your computer. For example, here I have Docker desktop. Okay, and actually if you have Docker desktop on your computer, nothing will happen. So actually this is nothing that you can open. Okay, why? Because in order to run Docker you need to use a PowerShell. Okay, you can do both. You can use the CMD or like PowerShell, and PowerShell independent of that you are working in 64 or 80, because I think that this is PowerShell for 32 bits, so we are just going to use Windows PowerShell. I would like that you introduce yourself on the chat, like your country and the use and your knowledge on either informatics or your knowledge in, well, this is not actually, okay, just introduce yourself and your country, okay, on the chat. For example, my name is Jorge Montoya, I'm from Peru, and I'm a hydrogeologist, numerical modeler, very enthusiastic about the use of open source software in water resources. Okay, so where is Docker here? Docker here is, for example, is here. I mean, once you have Docker on your computer, Docker is here. Okay, this is actually kind of a executable on your operating system. Okay, Docker is here, and then we have lot of commands related to Docker. Yeah, in this webinar we are not going to cover all of them. We are going to cover some of them. More for us in water resources, what is more important for developing image and containers, we are going to develop this concept: what is an image and what is a container. If you are here with me, please type yes one. For example, we are going to search for an image, so we are going to search for Ubuntu. For example, we want to run Ubuntu from Docker. Okay, so we say Docker search, maybe a little bit bigger, Docker search Ubuntu, and what it will bring is that it will bring all images that are related to Ubuntu. I mean, Docker works with a repository. Which is the repository? The repository that we have is Docker Hub. Actually, I don't know if there are some other repositories. So whatever is here, for example, Ubuntu, can be pulled from Docker. Okay, example. Yeah. So this is in hub docker.search. Okay. Thank you, Philip from Germany, that say that practice-oriented tutorial is relevant. Still thinking on that. Thank you. Okay, so here we have the all the alternative that we will where we can pull the Ubuntu image. Okay, what is an image? An image is kind of library of containers. Okay, it's a library of container. Well, it's a copy of the container. It's a hard copy of your container. Okay, so we can develop many containers of one image. For example, we have many many copies of the Ubuntu working. Okay, but we will have the original one. Okay, anybody else that wants to introduce themselves? Okay, so what we are going to do now is that we are going to uh, pull the image. Okay, so we are going to clear. So let's say what was the last docker search Ubuntu. So and then say docker pull Ubuntu. Okay, so on actually it will look for this one. Okay, because this is the original one. So if I want to pull the next one, I will have to say, for example, if I want to pull the Dorogu, I will have to say something like, say, Dorogu Ubuntu, and so on. Okay, but in this case, we are going to pull Ubuntu. So and it will look for the latest, and I have it already. Okay, so that's why I have docker image. Okay, I have Ubuntu already, but I am going to remove my image in order that you to see. Okay, actually you are required just to run this. Okay, I will docker rm Ubuntu docker rm. I have to use the, sometimes I have to use the docker image rm Ubuntu. Okay, great. So say clear. Okay, so say docker image. I only have the Hakuchik image. Actually, you are not required to have the Hakuchik image. Okay, docker image. So we have, you don't have, I mean, if you have installed docker, you won't have anything. Okay, because actually you have, by default, it does not download any image by default. So let's say docker search, no, docker pull Ubuntu. Okay, so that really depends on your on the speed of your computer. The Ubuntu image is actually pretty small. Okay, because for example the Hakuchi image has one is around 2 gigas. It's around 2 gigas, and for example the Gempi image is around 4 gigabytes. Okay, so that's why we are dealing here just with the Ubuntu image. Okay, if you are here with me, please type just 2 over them. Okay, so now if we type docker image, we have the Ubuntu image here. We have it here. Okay, but actually what is an image? An image is is, as we say, is an original copy, but in order to run the image we have to create a container. Okay, so we are going to say, in order to run an image we create containers, and we do that by typing docker run. Okay, docker run. If you want to see all options that are associated with docker run, we can say docker run // help. Okay, and these are all the options that are associated with docker run, and we are going to run with the option interactive and with the option TTI. Okay, so what I have done, in order to see that this is what show us the docker help, but in our case we are going to run Ubuntu on the interactive way. Okay, so that runs the image and creates a container. Okay, that is the most important part, creates a container. Okay, and as you see, what we are here, or what we are seeing here, is a, how to say, is a terminal in Ubuntu. Okay, is what it will appear if you launch Ubuntu from another computer. Is the same. Okay, so for example we can run some Ubuntu commands like app update, and then you are running, what you are running here is entirely Linux, or like or Ubuntu. Okay, you are not working anymore on Windows. If you are here, please type yes 3. Okay, great. So I have updated my Ubuntu repositories. Okay, so what else I can do here? So we are going to work with some things on Ubuntu in order to show you that we are really inside Ubuntu. So we can install inside our container Python 3. So app install Python 3. Okay, so it says it will install this, yes, and we have and with that and somehow I have some conflicts because I'm kind of, okay, let me check. Okay, something went on here, sorry. I should, I think that it went corrupted. I will close and open again. That will be a great case to know what is going on here. Okay, so here it's a okay, so I say docker container ls. So here I have my Ubuntu and say I'm going to attach to this docker attach to the container, but I have to use the container ID. Okay, docker attachment to container. Okay, and here I can say Python 3. Okay, so here I have Python 3. I mean, this is really interesting because what I have seen, what I have shown you is that, for example, there is one concept that I have to mention. Docker is running even that you are not in the PowerShell. Okay, so as you have seen, for example, somehow it went corrupt in my case. Okay, but and then I close the PowerShell. Okay, however, yeah, it's still running. So if I open the PowerShell again, and then if I look for the container list, I see that there is a container, and I see that the container is running, so I can attach to that container by docker attach, and I have to use the container ID, this ugly number. Well, this is the one that I have to use here. Okay, I hope that you are following here, and if you are here, please type yes 3. Okay, and we can even type some Ubuntu, like say for a in range of 10 print a. Okay, so those are Ubuntu, those are Python scripts that are running inside our Ubuntu Docker. Okay, there is there is a Philip that says, do you have any rule of thumb, gut feeling, how much percent of efficiency loss in runtimes will be? Oh, okay, so how much efficiency you have when you're running Docker? Actually, when, for example, if you're running OpenFOAM in Docker, or like OpenDrone in Docker, uh, if I look at the, how say in English, like resources monitor, something like that in Windows, I see that the Docker, I mean, you can see that the Docker process is taking, is consuming high amount of resources. I mean, and I don't know, I mean, we have to know how much of these resources are located in running the process, or like keeping the operating system. Why to use Docker? It comes from Daniela, and because sometimes it's the only way to run something. I mean, we are going to see later on some images that are strictly related to Docker. Okay, so I mean, it was not my first, it wasn't my first idea to send to give an introduction to Docker, maybe, and I was thinking that maybe here it was only going to be 2 people, maybe, but for me it was frustrating running some software and dealing with the problem that we don't have any other way to run the software instead of Docker. For example, there is a here on Docker Hub, we look for Gempi. Gempi is the geological, is a library in Python that where you can do geological modeling. Okay, but the dependency of Gempi are so big that it is impossible to have a configuration compatible, because actually Gempi runs Theano, that is a machine learning library. Okay, so therefore you have this Docker image where you can run Gempi from this Docker image. Okay, and actually if you run it from the Docker image, everything runs here. I mean, everything works here, while if you are working in Windows, you can have incompatibility of the package and so on. Great. So let's go back here. If we want to exit, here we are in the container root. This is a container, so it's a lsb release. Okay, no, clear. So here we are inside the container. So if we want to exit this to the PowerShell bash, we have to, there are some commands, and well, it's not so intuitive, but if you want to exit this, you have to do Control P and then Q. Okay, once again, Docker attach here. So just type, just press Control, then character P and then character Q, and then you exit from that. Okay, if you are here with me, please type yes for. If you have any questions, you can drop it on the chat. Okay. Great. So we can see which are our Docker images that are running. For example, here I have Ubuntu, and then here I have another image that is called Hakuchik, and both are working. And for example, here in Hakuchik it says that it's using the port 8080. Okay, while this one, the Ubuntu ones, actually is not using, or I have not opened any ports on that. Okay. So for example, there are some, this is come from Linux, but for example, here I have the container, but I have the names, I have the image, I have the command, the created, and the port. What will happen? I mean, if I want to remove containers, what I have to do is I have to remove it by the container ID. So, but if I list everything here, actually I get all. In order just to get the container ID, we can list the containers by with score AQ, and with that you only get the container ID. Okay. For example, if I want to delete all my containers, I have to do this docker rm score f, that means force, and then here I insert a variable that says docker ps.aq. So because in order to remove a container, in order to remove the container, I need the container ID. So this is entirely Linux. Okay. So I just type this and say, okay, I have removed all the containers. So if I have docker ps/a, I don't have any container working on my computer. However, if I docker image, I have the image, because the image is kind of the original copy. Okay, if you want to run an image, it creates a container. Okay, so let's see. I hope that you are here. Any questions, let me know. Okay, so let's go and see the Docker Hub. For example, in Docker Hub, we are going to look for an image that I have done. So it's Hakuchik. Okay, if you type Hakuchik, we have created an image that, what is the particularity of this image is that it has Giral installed, it has Shapely installed, it has Pandas installed. Okay, so actually if you want to do any of our tutorials, here you can work with that, with this image. Okay, So we are going to, so if we want to pull this image, the problem is that I have this image. So I say docker image. So I have the image. So I'm going to delete my image, my Hakuchik image. Docker image rm, and then I have to give the image ID. Okay, great. Okay, so here I'm deleting my image. Okay, and what you see this is that my image has also is a copy of an image of Ubuntu. That's why, and it has another thing, so that's why it's so long. Okay, so I say once again, if I have Docker image, I only have the Ubuntu image. Okay, and then I have to do this docker pull hatari labs / Hakuchik. Okay, and it has a problem. What it has a problem? Somehow can it, if I pull this on this way, that is actually the same. Here it doesn't work because the tag is required. And why is the tag is required? Because the tag, yeah, because the tag is kind of the version of the image. Okay, so you can pull an image that is from 2 months ago, from yesterday, and so on. So I have to pull with the tag. So I say, and here it says, and with that I copy, and then I pull this with the tag, and with that, I really don't know why, but if I do this in Linux, actually I can put without the tag, but in Windows I have to pull it with the tag. And what they will say is that what you see here is the different components of the image that are being unloaded by one. I hope that you are following here. If you have any questions, let me know. Phillips asks, is hosting on Docker Home free? Yes, it's free. Okay, as long as your image is free as well, hosting is free. So yeah, what I have seen is free. Okay, so we are pulling the Hakuchik image here. Okay, everybody please, and the actually that it has to download 1.35 gigabytes. If we look for Docker Hub Gempi, for example, Gempi, the size of the image is 3.76 gigabytes. And then if I want OpenDrawMap has is smaller one, 579 megabytes. For example, what are the main images that we use? OpenDrawMap, Gempi, Hakuchik, which else I use? Okay, I still maybe I use another more. If you have any other ones, let me know on the chat. Okay, so here still waiting for that. and you please tell me how you are doing. How? Oops. And I think that this depends on my connection. Okay, so let me check which is my speed. Okay, I can tell you something that could happen if you when you are downloading, or if it happens to you. I can break this with Control C. I can break it, and actually these parts won't be downloaded again, because actually those are on the computer and it will download only the ones that are missing. Something went on here, so I say yes, Control C, okay, and then I just run it again, okay. If you see, these ones are already downloaded, so that's why they are not downloading again, okay. So this is great because you don't have to download them from the beginning. Something that is great is that these ones runs on Linux and even on a Raspberry Pi. Okay, but if you are working with a Raspberry Pi in order to run Docker, you have to keep in mind that some images are oriented to what is this, Intel x64, I guess, is kind of a chip type, while the Raspberry has another chip type that is called ARM, and sometimes there is an incompatibility on that. Okay, so you have to be sure that your image is compatible with a certain chip type. Chip type. Okay, I hope. Well, let's wait a little bit here. For example, some of these components could be Jedal, the other components will be Shapely or GeoPandas. Okay, we don't know them because actually those are ciphered on these keys. You have any questions? Let me know through the chat, because we are here to help. Really, thank you for following this webinar. This was kind of a very abstract webinar. I mean, it's not the most popular topic, but we think that is required in order to do more things with the software. Okay. The next step of this is that we are going to insert PostgreSQL, a Postgres database inside the Hakuchik, because I want to do to create a water chemistry database, and we will open a port on this in order to connect the Docker image with with QoS. Okay, so the Docker will be will store our geo database. Okay, and then with just typing Docker run and the image, you will have a Postgres database working on your computer. Okay. I think that we are just we are close to the end of this, especially on this image that is the one that is the heavier one. Okay, for example, if you see, this one is the only that is missing, and this one as well. And I hope that for your internet connection, like, it takes the same amount of time. Okay, so only this one is missing right now. Don't know what happens here. Maybe you get blocked. No, not that much. Or maybe it's a concurrence or something on the servers. So I do it again, so Control C and then run it again, because actually it will look that all of the other parts are complete, and it will just unload the ones that are missing. There are some small ones missing. Yeah, I don't know why it. Yeah, all of them should run on with the same speed, because actually we're pulling that from the same hub. Okay, so actually we are not. Since when I'm using Docker? Maybe around 3 years from now. Okay, but at the beginning I was doing like very few things and not doing much. Like sometimes Philip asked if I had any trouble as well, like any trouble with Docker. Like, no, I didn't have to reinstall my. I mean, when I was working with Docker in Vista, yeah, we have some trouble. We have some troubles because it was really unstable. I mean, you can open an image once, but the next day you cannot open anymore. But in Windows 10, kind like it's more stable. Um, so that's why I feel motivated to give this webinar. Sometimes I use Docker, but later on I change to working with Linux, because it's like in Linux you don't have to virtualize anything. But for example, for Gempi or for OpenDrawMap, it will always work on Docker. Okay, so here, or maybe we are pulling the same image Well, I do have an email. However, whatever, sometimes people ask me about the specific things and something like that, or like specific cases. Yeah, whatever I can do to help you, I will do. If I cannot help you, I will, I will say it as well. Okay. Okay, I'm close to finish my image. Okay, so so it has finished downloading. It's only extracting the image. For example, for this image, I have to create this image. I have used Conda, that is also a kind of a repository of package for Python. Yeah, it has its complexity to work on that, but okay, great. So here I have, so if I type docker image here, I have the Hakuchi, yeah. Okay, and then I will run the image and then create the container. I say docker run interactive, and then I can give a name to my container. Okay, instead of, because you later you will see that docker give some random names to the container. I mean, like random names in fact, but you can do, for example, we can give a Hakuchik SM, that are my initial name, my initials, and then I have to open a port. What does it mean, this port? Okay, what does it mean? What it means, this port, is that actually, because inside the docker, if you have run Anaconda, when you run Anaconda, you go to localhost 2.8080, but this is a port of your computer. Okay, however, inside Anaconda, inside the container has its own ports. It has its own ports. Okay, so if you want to relate the port of the container to the port of your computer, you have to open the port. If you don't open the port, it's really hard to open afterwards. It's really hard to open, and what you will see is that the port 8080 for the container will be the port 8080 for your computer. Okay, so and then say Hatari Labs slash Hakuchik, and then the tag name. Okay, great. And then I say, if I run this, okay, actually it's running. And then what you are seeing here is the, so you just have to copy this Control C, and then open the browser, and then you will see, and then you will have the Jupyter Hub. And this Jupyter Hub is running from the Docker image. It's actually not running from your computer, from your operating system, from your Windows operating system. Okay, great. So what we are going to do is that we are going to transfer files from the Docker image to the computer. I mean, from the Docker image to your Windows operating system. Okay, so here, let's open a terminal, and this terminal has the git executable git clone. Okay, and in order to git clone, we can clone, for example, let's go to GitHub. Let's go to Saul Montoya. For example, let's clone this. Let's clone this. Okay, like git clone this, and then on the chat I will give you the link. Okay, Matt. Thank you, Matt. I think that you have a great topic, but unfortunately in this webinar we are not able to answer your point. Okay, Philip asks, QAS have Python interfaces? Yes, there is the Python library of QAS, but I think that this library, you don't need Docker in order to run this library. Okay. Okay, Muhammad. Okay, Muhammad. I have to see what exactly, I have to see exactly what you want to do, and then I can help you with the link, whatever link is useful. So here, what I'm doing, I'm just pulling something from the web in my image. Okay, I'm just pulling something from the web in my image. Okay, great. And then I can open another terminal. Okay, for example, according to my because I have a script, so I can do a PowerShell. Oops, another. Sorry, I can open another PowerShell. So actually, you can access Docker from many PowerShells, and you can, for example, Docker logs, for example, Hakuchik. What? Docker log Hakuchik Hatari Labs. Hakuchik. Okay, so Docker paste a. So I have here my image. Okay, and the name that I have here is Hakuchik SM. So if I want to see this, okay, but I mean what is the internal logs of my image, I have to use docker logs and the name of my container, SM. And this is helpful, for example, if you close your computer and then you restart your computer, actually you are not going to see this bash anymore. So in order to see, and then you need this. Why you need this? Because with this without this token you cannot access the Jupyter Lab. Okay, so with docker log Hakuchik, actually you can access the log, I mean what is the internal, what is being shown on the bash of the container. Okay, and then what I will do is I will copy, for example, if you see on my, okay, so if I do list, here I have Voronoi, okay, and here I'm located on home Wasikuna, okay, here I'm located in home Wasikuna, and then here I have my Voronoi modflow 6, okay, folder, and then here I have a work folder, but this one is empty. So what I'm going to do is clear, CLS is in, clear is in Linux, CLS is in Windows. What you will see is docker cp is a command that copies from Hakuchik, from your container, Hakuchik SM, that is how my container is named, say home, and then you insert the path wasikuna / and then you are going to download this in downloads, okay, so you are going, why in downloads? Okay, before doing this you just type dir here, and then you are one folder up of documents, so here are document downloads, okay, and then so there, this is why you will have Hakuchik SM /home/ wasikuna /downloads. Okay, great. So what it will do is it will copy what is on your container to your computer. Okay, so if we type, if I go with Explorer to my downloads, here I find Wasikuna, where here I have the modflow, the Voronoi modflow 6, and I have also some, these come from Linux, those are hidden folders from Linux, but actually are visible here in, or I can list. So I can list downloads Wasikuna, I can list all the files that I have here. Great. And finally, if you want to see more about the commands of Docker, what you need to know, okay, what you need to know is here on this cheat sheet, okay, that actually, I mean, there were many many of these ones, but this is the most reliable because it has Docker pull, Docker push, delete an image, delete dangling image, Docker run, and so on. Okay. So, and that's it. Okay. Well, that will be all for this webinar. Just to remind that, for example, if you restart your computer, okay, for example, if you restart your computer, so say docker psa, so you will see something like docker For example, here is status is up, but if you restart your computer and then you open your PowerShell, if you type docker psh, you will see something like docker stop hakuchikesem. Okay, so you will see something like docker status exit. Okay, and then if you want to make this container run, so you just have to use docker start hakuchikesem. But however, if you want to retrieve this key in order to open that on your browser, you have to do docker logs hakuchikesem. Okay, and then with this is the key where you can access the Jupyter Lab. Okay, that will be everything from me. If you have any questions, I will be here in order to retrieve your question. Please tell me what you intend to do, and then I can help you. Okay, so if you have any questions, otherwise we say as goodbye. Have a nice evening, and hope to see you in coming. The next webinar will be about how to do a geological map with QAS. That is more like a stable, more like open audience topic. And as well, we have our e-learning platform. We will have a lot of courses that you can take, and then our blog and newsletter as well. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know. And thank you for being in this webinar. Okay. Thank you. Okay, have a nice